A group of more than 80 people released from immigration detention in the past week will face mandatory one-year sentences if they breach new visa provisions. Late last night, Parliament passed legislation giving the Home Affairs Minister the power to impose tougher visa conditions on the group, including curfews and electronic monitoring. For more, we're joined by political reporter Noor Haider. Noor, this legislation passed very quickly through the Parliament. Why has the government taken this step?
Well, the government, with the support of the coalition, was able to rush this legislation through the Parliament. It responds to a High Court ruling made last week which found it unlawful to indefinitely detain people in immigration detention if there is no prospect for them to be deported. The ruling triggered the release of 84 non-citizens from immigration detention. They'd previously failed visa character tests, and they include some people who had prior convictions for murder and sexual assault. The government was accused of being caught flat-footed by that High Court ruling, and over recent days the coalition has been calling on the government to explain how it will ensure community safety. Under these new laws, former detainees will face strict curfews and will also be required to wear ankle monitoring devices. The government also agreed to amendments by the coalition which include preventing those who've been released from working with children or going within 150 metres of a school or childcare facility. Those who breach visa conditions will face a mandatory one-year minimum jail term. Despite these changes, the coalition is arguing that the government should do more, should legislate to ensure that these people can be re-detained. Here's some of what the Shadow Immigration Minister Dan Tehan said this morning.
Well, we think that you can use preventative detention legislation to do that, and you can set up a new regime, and that's what the government should have been looking at since June, when it became clear that there was a possibility that the High Court would rule the way that it did. That doesn't go against the High Court ruling. What it does is put in place a new regime, and we think for the last 3 to 4 months that is what the government should have been looking at. They should have been ready to act. Instead, over the weekend and early this week, we're hearing from the government that they could do nothing.
And that is the Shadow Immigration Minister Dan Tehan speaking earlier this morning. The Greens argue that the government has caved to a scare campaign from the coalition. The Greens leader Adam Bandt described this also as a broken promise on the part of the government because Labor's national platform is opposed to mandatory sentencing. Human rights groups too have expressed their concern, saying that the changes will punish people who are stateless and who have already served their sentences. The government says that it will be considering further changes once it gets access to the full judgment made by the High Court.